multi-step equations. Your learning target in these next few days, you can solve multi-step inequalities. So what we're going to do today is fill out the notes, and then we're going to spend the next few days just practicing this because it is incredibly important. Okay? Let's see. So steps for solving any multi-step inequality. The first thing you should do is distribute. So you have to be confident with how do you distribute. Okay. And then what we do is we combine like terms. And sometimes you're going to have variables on two sides of the inequality. You got to move the variable to one side. And then we'll solve. You don't always have to do all of those things, but sometimes you get a really ugly problem and you just start plucking through the steps. Okay? So distribute, combine like terms, bring the variable to one side, solve. Distribute, combine like terms, bring the variable to one side, solve. And when I say combine like terms, that does not mean doing the opposite. Let me show you what that means. Write this by it. 5x plus 3 minus 6x is bigger than 9. This is what I mean. Write it down. This is what I mean by combining like terms. You don't do the opposite here. What I would do is combine these two together. So 5x minus 6, or plus a negative 6, is negative x plus 3 is bigger than 9. Okay, and then you would move the variable to one side, which we don't need to do right now, and then you would solve. And when I say solve, it means I'd move the 3 and then divide by the negative 1. Okay. The biggest thing you need, I am assuming that you are confident on, is you know when you MD and F. You know when you're going to flip an inequality. Do you feel confident about flipping an inequality? Yeah. Takes a little bit of practice. Just be very careful. At the end, you could always say, should I have flipped? And look to see if you should have flipped anywhere. All right. So, distributing is always a nice and easy one. Let's see, first thing I should do is distribute. When we distribute, you multiply, right? So 3 times x is 3x plus, now we multiply these two, 3 times 4 is 12, is bigger than or equal to 36. Do you feel like the next part is hard? No? What should I do? Matt, what should I do?
Minus 12 on both sides.
Yeah, I'm going to minus 12. Okay. Then I get 3x is bigger than or equal 24. Then I divide, right? So I divide by 3, so you get x is bigger than or equal to 8. Did I need to MD and F it?
No.
No. See how I just double checked? At the end I was like, ooh, should I have flipped it? Nope, I didn't need to. You only flip if there's a negative that you're moving at the end. Okay, step 1 on this next problem. Distribute. Some of you keep forgetting to distribute that to that second term. I catch it all the time. Don't forget. You distribute to everything inside. So 4 times 3 is 12x minus 4 times 2 is 8. I'm going to add 8. Uh-oh, I'm going to get a fraction. Hey, you're going to get a lot of fractions on your homework. I promise you. 12x is less than 13, right? Now how do you move that 12? So just leave it. It doesn't go even. Don't turn it to a decimal. Just leave it as a fraction. So I divide by 12, divide by 12. X is less than 13 over 12. Leave it like that. You don't have to graph today. You just have to solve. I need a double check. Did I need to flip it? No, I didn't. Okay, I see a negative on the outside, and this is where some of us made a mistake on chapter 2, so we have to be very cautious on this. I see a negative on the outside, so I'm going to turn this minus on the inside to plus a negative. I promise you it's going to help you keep your sign straight. Now I'm going to distribute. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8x plus, because I turn the minus to plus a negative, negative 4 times negative 5 is 20. Negative 8x plus 20 is less than 28. Subtract 20 to both sides. Subtract 20. And you get negative 8x is less than 8. Divide by a negative. Notice how I said that? Divide by a negative. So if I divide by a negative, I need to flip the inequality. Notice? Flipped the inequality. Good, we're almost done. And then we're doing combining like terms today, and we'll call it done. Okay, so let's see, I have another negative on the outside that I need to distribute. Negative 5 times 2 is negative 10x plus negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. Negative 10x plus negative 10 is bigger than or equal to 12. Oh, I don't love this. It gets weird. Now I have to minus a negative 10. What happens when you minus a negative? It's really just plussing. So this is really just plussing. So negative 10x is bigger than or equal to 22. It's tricky. Now I'm dividing by negative 10. I'm going to MDNF it. Divide by negative 10. So I have to flip it, negative 22 tenths. Notice that I just bring the negative to the outside. That's just common etiquette for math, I guess. The negative goes on the outside. Then I simplify it. So I divide them both by 2, and it's negative 11 over 5. So, notice that although I don't turn it into a mixed number, I do simplify them if they both share a factor. Okay, so I'm going to do the two-stepper, but this one that I'm putting a smiley face on is one that you will see on your homework tonight, because that's applying, distributing, and combining like terms. Let's go ahead and do this easier one. All we have to do is add 5 to both sides of the inequality. So remember, back in, was it 6th grade when we learned algebra, sometimes we put a line there so we know where we're adding. I mean, by all means, use that if you like to use that. And I get negative 3x is less than 9. And then I need to divide by a negative. Ooh, did you hear? So that means I need to flip. So I'm going to flip. So I get x is bigger than negative 3. It's lined up weird. I'm sorry. Okay, last one as a class. Oh, it's going to take a while, but let's just start trekking through it. So distribute is step 1. See, I didn't love this one, but I'm not going to shut down. I'm just going to say, okay, what's the first thing I do? According to my steps on the front of the page, it says to distribute. So negative 2 times 3 is negative 6x. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. And then I rewrite the rest. Okay. Now, combine like terms. Now watch my strategy when I combine like terms. I combine these two, and I combine these two. Do you see what I did? I put an arrow by my x's and an arrow by my numbers, integers. Negative 6 and 4 is what? Negative 6 plus 4.
-2.
Yep, it sure is negative 2x. Plus, negative 2 plus 3 is bigger than negative 14. Okay? So be very careful for combining like terms. So negative 6 and 4x, that's this line here that I'm scribbling, that's negative 2. Negative 2 and a positive 3 is 1. That's where those numbers came from. Now I can subtract 1, subtract 1. Negative 2x is bigger than negative 15. Did you get 15?
Yeah.
Good. Darn negatives.
You gotta flip it.
Now I gotta flip it. So now we're gonna divide by negative 2. When we divide by negative 2, we are flipping it out. So we get x is less than, hey, a negative divided by a negative
Positive.
is a positive, so it's 15 over 2. This is harder than what you'll see on your